Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive here. We're happy to have all of you here today. Nice to see a group of people here in our community. A lot of our meetings only have a handful of people, but we have many people here today, and I'll address that in just a second more. But the first thing we do here is we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm sure many of you have a cell phone with you today. If you don't mind, please turn it to off or vibrate. Phones that ring during the meeting can interfere with our PA system here, so please turn your phone down to low volume or off. Now I'm going to ask our clerk, Sheila Fair, to please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison. Here. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins. Here. Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
And Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Right. Would like to add after the second public comment at the bottom of the page, we'll go to executive session, and that would be based on KRS 61.810, and that is requires deliberations for the future acquisition or sale of a real property by a public agency.
If that was a motion, I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, the next thing we do here is read the minutes from our last meeting. That meeting took place on December 17th.
December 17th, 2019. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Magistrate Harrison was absent. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda, adding HRA services contract, courthouse renovation project presentation, and remove the CPC communications contract agreement. Motion carried unanimously. Approval of minutes. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the meeting minutes from December 3rd. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Recycling coordinator Becky Zocklin announced its Christmas tree recycling. After the holidays, live Christmas trees can be dropped off at the designated spot at the Recycling Center, 3943 Jones Drive, across from Oldham County High Schools. Bid openings. The following sealed bids for a 2020 Ford Expedition were open and read aloud for the record. Hunt Ford, $38,841. Star Ford at Oxmoor, $39,390. Following sealed bids for a 2020 Ford Transit were open and read aloud for the record. Greenwood Ford, $38,605. Hunt Ford, $34,767. Star Ford at Oxmoor, $34,790. The following sealed bids for a 2020 Ford F-150 were open and read aloud for the record. Hunt Ford, $34,520. Star Ford at Oxmoor, $34,560. The following sealed bids for a 2020 Ford F-250 were open and read aloud for the record. Hunt Ford, $27,903. Star Ford at Oxmoor, $29,485. Greenwood Ford, $30,771. Sheriff's Office 2020 budget. Sheriff's Office, motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the Sheriff's 2020 budget as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Sheriff's Office 2020 Annual Standing Order setting maximum salaries for deputies and assistants. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the Sheriff's 2020 Annual Order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants. Motion carried unanimously. County Administration, payables. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Tice to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Contract agreements and resolutions. Contract agreement, dead animal removal services. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the judge executive to sign the contract agreement with Blue Line Outdoor Company for dead animal removal services. Motion carried unanimously. Amendment to the Strand Association Agreement for the Kentucky 1793 Sidewalk Project. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the judge executive to sign the contract amendment with Strand Associates for the Kentucky 1793 Sidewalk Project. Motion carried 7-1. Magistrate Tice voted no. Human Resource Committee, job description, revision for staff engineer. Motion made by Magistrate Logston and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the job description revision for staff engineer. Motion carried unanimously. HRA Services Contract Agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logston to authorize the judge executive to sign the contract agreement relating to additional HRA services. Motion carried unanimously. Courthouse Renovation Project Presentation. Judge Vogel presented renditions of 2 designs for the proposed new Oldham County Courthouse, a 2-story design option and a 3-story design option. Contact him at dvogel@oldhamcountyky.gov with any comments. Motorola Agreement, simulcast fire EMS paging system. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Dye, to authorize the judge executive to sign the contract with Motorola relating to a municipal lease for the simulcast fire and EMS paging system. Motion carried unanimously on a roll call vote. Public comment, none. Announcements. Fiscal Court members wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Magistrate Hounds encouraged homeowners to register their home camera system with Oldham County Police. Through the holidays, be mindful of packages expected for delivery. To safeguard your purchase, try to remove from the porch as soon after delivery as possible. Magistrate Greenwell announced winter break for Oldham County Schools begins Friday, December 20th, returning January 7th. Motion made by Magistrate Logston and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 3:26 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from December 17th. Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Judge, I abstain.
One abstention because Mr. Harrison was not at the meeting. Now, the next item on our agenda is public comment, but I'm going to skip ahead one position. Our county clerk would like to present her budget request for the coming fiscal year. I see a lot of people here. I'm not going to ask the clerk to stay through all the testimony that may be coming after her, so if you'll just bear with us for a minute, we'll get to public comment next.
We can make this really brief if you guys like. Good afternoon, Judge, Magistrates. Thank you for letting me move up a little bit. It is the time of year that I come before the court to present my budget for the calendar year. I am on a calendar year budget where fiscal court is on a fiscal year, and so mine does not meet up with yours. This year, I'm presenting to the court. Basically, I'm looking at my total expend. Let me get back to where I was. All the expenses in my office at $1,502,700, and with the money that I bring in, it should return to the court an excess fee. We're looking at $343,800, and I will go on and bring up something that we had discussed in our meeting, that there was a fee increase in our recordings room. It was the first fee increase that the recordings or the deed rooms across the state have had in about 20 plus years. And the fees did go up dramatically, but with not only the fees, there's also e-recordings that are going to start that really we haven't had any. I don't really know what that fee increase is going to look like. The law just went into effect on January 1, and so I really just don't know what that is going to look like at this point. And if I was on a calendar year, I think after the first quarter, I would have a better look. My thought is, I certainly would be happy to meet with the Finance Committee at the end of the first quarter, and we can talk about projections. But the reality is, whatever I bring in and we don't spend through my line items is returned to the court anyway. So I hope that I make a lot more money with the fee increase. I just really don't have a picture of what that's going to look like yet. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all would have.
Magistrate Dye, does the Finance Committee have a recommendation on this budget?
Yes, Judge. The Finance Committee met today with the clerk, Ms. Barr, and we found the budget to be appropriate for next year, or this calendar year, and we did approve it. I'll make a motion that we approve this budget as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you have the second form.
Magistrate Dye?
Yes, sir. This is on the back page of the presentation in your binder. This is basically setting the maximum amount for the fee officials, deputies, and assistants, much like we do for the sheriff's office. So I would make a motion that we approve the amount of $1,182,000 for deputies, assistants, and other employees.
Second.
That's the maximum amount that can be paid through the clerk's office to employees in the clerk's office without further approval of the fiscal court and the Department for Local Government. Are there any questions or comments on that amount?
Judge?
Yes, sir.
Is this an
Or ma'am?
Is this an increase or a decrease from last year?
Julie?
On the salaries, it's a 2% increase across for that line item. And then it's the total of the salaries and the benefits, I believe, is the way it's laid out.
Right. For the past several years, when the fiscal court has awarded salary increases, the maximum has been 2% per year. And there have been some years when it was less. Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no other comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Time now for public comment, and I believe most of you have come here today to talk about 2A sanctuary status, gun rights, and so forth in Oldham County. We're well aware of the fact that this is a discussion that's taking place across the county. We welcome having this discussion in our county. Our procedure here is to allow everyone who would like to speak to come forward and speak. No one will be denied the opportunity to voice their opinion. We allow each speaker 4 minutes to speak. Occasionally, the court will allow more if there is some magnitude or gravity to the presentation that just can't be concluded in 4 minutes. But for the most part, people can make their point and step aside and allow another person to have the opportunity. So at this point, I believe, Rick Gray, are you going to be our first speaker today? When I call on you, they're sitting in the first row here. When you come forward, we ask you to state clearly for our clerk and for the benefit of those in the room and those who watch this on television later, state your name clearly and also state your address. And try to project a little bit. Most of you are not probably public speakers or don't get much opportunity to do public speaking, but our sound system is such that in the back of the room, if you speak in a soft voice or don't try to project just a little bit, other people in the room can't hear what you're saying. So if we turn up the sound system too high, we get a squeak, and none of us can stand that too long. So the best thing to do is project. I'm projecting right now. I hope everyone in the room can hear me. We all try to do the same thing. So welcome to Fiscal Court. Please give us your name and address.
All right, my name is Rick Gray, and my address is 1929 Miller Lane, LaGrange, Kentucky, 40031. I live in District 4, which is Mr. Greenwell's district. So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Rick Gray. I'm addressing you today regarding the Oldham County passing the resolution to become a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so y'all don't all think I'm a lunatic. So I'm 58 years old. I'm a lifelong resident of Oldham County. I graduated from Oldham County High School in 1979. I also graduated from the University of Louisville in 1993 after going to school part-time for 14 years while working for the Kentucky Department of Corrections. I earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Police Administration, and I also earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Corrections Administration. I have over 32 years of law enforcement experience with the Kentucky Department of Corrections. I worked for 19 years in the prison system and 13 years as a probation and parole officer. I retired in 2004, the first time with 20 years, and I worked an additional 12 years and retired again in 2017. The last 9 of those years I was a parole officer here in Oldham County. I have been a firearms instructor for over 23 years and currently teach the carrying concealed deadly weapons course. I presented Mr. Vogel, Judge Vogel, with a resolution making Oldham County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I believe it's my understanding that he has shared it with each of you. You might want to know or ask, what does a Second Amendment sanctuary mean? And it refers to resolutions adopted by some jurisdictions in the United States not to expend resources to enforce certain gun control measures perceived as violative of the Second Amendment. If you're not aware, there have been a number of bill requests made for the upcoming 2020 legislative session, all of which infringe on the Second Amendment. That session started today. You got to remember, the right to keep and bear arms, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. We, the people, must protect the sanctity of the Second Amendment by adopting this resolution to become the Second Amendment sanctuary county. By doing so, Oldham County is sending a message to lawmakers in Frankfort that we respect and uphold the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. All the bill requests, at least 5, have been made by misguided anti-gun lawmakers from Jefferson and Fayette counties. I've spoken to several of you regarding this issue with much support. Only one of you expressed concern, of the ones I talked to, about us throwing the first punch. And I can assure you that the first punch has already been thrown. The bill requests by these misguided lawmakers are a way of testing the waters. It's an attack on the Second Amendment, and it's their way of attempting to erode our Constitution. By attacking the Second Amendment, they are also attacking the right to due process, the right to unreasonable searches and seizures, and so forth. The Second Amendment is so important, our founding fathers made it number 2. If the Second Amendment fails, then rest assured the remaining amendments, as we know them, will also fail. By adoption of this resolution, the people of Oldham County send a message to the lawmakers in Frankfort not to play pick and choose with our Constitution. We must make every attempt to preserve the Second Amendment. By passing this resolution, this body, the people of Oldham County, show our support not only for the Second Amendment, but for the entire Constitution. Your action today is critical for all generations to come. Please adopt this resolution today without further delay. And I appreciate if one of you, before the day's out, would make a motion to accept this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else like to address this issue?
All right. My name is Barry Laws, L-A-W-S. I'm the CEO of Open Range. I live at 3411 Fendley Mill Road in LaGrange, Kentucky. First off, I'd like to thank the magistrates. I talked to all of you on the phone. And those of you who do not use your magistrates, start calling. They're very nice people. One of the things I picked up at the conversations was this lack of, this is not a negative, but just not a misunderstanding of why this is even coming up. So Rick covered one issue of it. I'm going to cover a little different issue. I'm from California. It's okay. I'm from California. At age 16, I rode my bicycle to the local hardware store and bought my first handgun, 1911. It was a great handgun. got it from mowing lawns. From there, I would strap guns on my back, I would ride my bicycle through what might be downtown LaGrange, and go shoot in a field at tin cans. No big deal. You know how many people have died from my guns since then? 0. What gun control is citizen control. The gun is not going to jump up and do or not do something. What they're talking about is controlling us as citizens. I believe the Second Amendment means what it says and says what it means. So from there, they started asking for a fingerprint to buy any .22 ammunition. After that, they wanted the high-cap magazine ban, the assault rifle ban. They outlawed small guns, Saturday night specials. They had drop testing. You had to have a Department of Justice trainer, which I was at the time, had to give a class, and you had to get a certificate to buy a gun. So if you kind of see the trend here, it's kind of choking off a lot of the access to different firearms and different facilities even. They had the 50 cal ban. They had universal background checks, right? So if I wanted to sell you a gun, we had to go to the local gun shop and do it through them. The guns had to be California approved. So it was just little by little, all the draconian little tiny measures added up to a whole lot. So what people don't understand is, you might say it's not happening in Kentucky. Well, try driving. We have our rights in Kentucky, right? To have it in your car or to have it on your body now. Try driving through New Jersey, DC, tons of states across the United States. You will become illegal just for what you can do legally here. So my goal is for you all to put this on the agenda. I would like to be at the table because I'm a representative, I think, of the shooting sports, most people would agree, and answer all of your questions as to why this is important now and why we should show solidarity for the Second Amendment to these initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Andrew Gaylor, and I live at 9600 Darby Creek Court in Crestwood. Can I use this, please?
Yes.
I'm not sure. How do we turn it on? Okay, thank you. Judge and magistrates, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you here today. This is a very important issue, and I appreciate your attention to this. I'm a resident of Oldham County. I am not affiliated with any organization. I am a private citizen, I am a father, and I'm a small business owner, and I'm a passionate supporter of individual liberties and rights, and that includes the rights that we have under the Constitution for the Second Amendment and our right to keep and possess firearms for our own individual use and protection. I believe that most of us in here probably use firearms for the important thing of protecting yourself and your family, and that is an individual right. That's not a collective right of all the people. Each of us have that right individually, and this push for a Second Amendment sanctuary status, which you're seeing here today with all these wonderful people who've shown up, this is a grassroots movement of individuals. This is not a nationwide led organization. This is a grassroots movement. This began in Illinois and in Virginia last year, and it was in response to a lot of very draconian gun control measures which were being passed and pushed in those states and other states such as New York and California and New Jersey. These gun control proposals seek to prevent private individuals from owning and possessing AR-15 rifles, modern sporting rifles, and other semi-automatic types of firearms. The legislative agendas that these people are pushing are designed to disarm the American citizen. They will not be satisfied when they only take your AR-15 rifle because they think they will not be satisfied until they take all of your firearms. And why is that? Why are they pushing to disarm the American citizen? The new Kentucky House Bill 354, which is just being presented today in Frankfurt, is going to outlaw possession of any magazines which can hold over 10 rounds. I just want to speak about some of the gun laws which we're going to see here in Kentucky, please. It will create a mandatory registration for so-called assault weapons, and that is AR-15s and rifles of that sort. It's going to define an assault weapon as any semi-automatic rifle or shotgun which can accept a detachable magazine holding 5 or more rounds of ammunition. So pretty much every semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine is going to be outlawed under this proposal that's in Frankfurt today. It's going to outlaw semi-automatic handguns with threaded barrels, and it's going to outlaw certain handguns that weigh over a certain amount of ounces. It's then going to outlaw the transfer of these firearms, and is going to create a buyback program to where you have to sell it to the state at market value. You will not be allowed to sell it to other individuals. You will not be allowed to transfer it to your children upon your death. It must be sold to the state at market value. Well, there is no market value when there is no open and free market. May I be granted an additional minute, sir? It took me just a minute to get this together. Thank you very much. I'll be brief. In Georgia, there's Senate Bill 281, which has recently been proposed for the state of Georgia to outlaw all semi-automatic firearms. In Virginia, they have legislation to outlaw AR-15, modern sporting rifles, other semi-automatic rifles that take detachable magazines. They have a law proposed to outlaw all indoor shooting ranges. They have a law that's been proposed to outlaw firearms training. 8 other states have now have passed laws that would outlaw magazines that hold anything more than 10 rounds. Why do these people want to disarm the American citizen? Let's do our part here in Oldham County to keep Kentucky from becoming like states like New York and California. Let's stand up now while we have a chance. The FBI crime reports have recently been released for 2018. There were 14,123 murders in the United States of America in 2018. 12 of those murders were committed in Kentucky with rifles. Just 12. So all this legislative push and all this money that's going into gun control in the state of Kentucky is being pushed because there's 12 murders with rifles. That includes all rifles, not just AR-15s. That's all rifles. The proposals do not line up with the statistics. The legislation is not based in reality. It is a proposal to disarm the American citizen. Here in Oldham County, I'm here to ask that you all pass some type of Second Amendment sanctuary resolution to stand in solidarity with the other counties that have passed similar resolutions, to send a message to Frankfurt to say that's enough. We don't want any more gun control legislation. We have enough. And what we have is working, and we do not want any more gun control legislation. There are now at least 17 counties in Kentucky that have passed this, 76 counties in Virginia, and I'd ask that Oldham County also pass it. We should do it today. We should not wait 2 more weeks because the gun control legislation is in Frankfurt in the House today, and it could be law by the time we reconvene 2 weeks from now. Thank you for your time. I'd also like to add just one more thing, that Representative Thomas Massey has lent his support to the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else who would like to address this issue here today?
Good afternoon. Hope you can hear me. My name is Dewey Watering. I reside at 3520 Rock Rose Lane, LaGrange, Kentucky. And I've been here a long time in LaGrange, in the county, about 40-some years. And I agree with everything that these gentlemen have said before me, but I have a little different perspective on it. I own guns. I was the director of what was then called the Immigration and Naturalization Service for the state of Kentucky for 18 years. I was in the Border Patrol. I have dealt with people from all over the world. And I carried a gun for all my life. I still have a federal permit to carry a firearm as well as a state permit to carry a firearm. I will fight before they take my guns. Let me say that to you. But that being said, I also don't like sanctuary cities for immigrants. I think they're wrong. And I think that if I were president of the United States, those cities would get no funding, some way or the other. Because you have to respect the law and authority above you. Our sheriff, I believe, takes an oath to uphold the Constitution. And if you think that what you're being told to do is wrong, if I were a sheriff, I would take it to court. That's where it's supposed to be decided. That's the problem I have with sanctuary anything. You are asking these people, your magistrates, to defy a law if it's passed that is making them actually probably to disobey their oath. I don't know the exact oath that they took, but I have a problem with that. And believe me, I think I'm about as conservative as you get, and I think most of these people up here know that I am. But I don't like to put anybody in a position of going against what they swore to do. I think we should be probably in Frankfurt doing this, and I just heard today about this drive that was in Frankfurt. And I would have liked to have been there, but I came here, and I would gladly join any of you folks in going over there and making those people aware of what we want, our representatives, David Osborne and so forth, to keep the law from being passed so we don't have to worry about it. I mean, I like a gun not just to defend myself, but I have fun shooting a gun. I like to shoot guns. I actually like to do that. My wife shoots them. I taught my children to shoot them. My wife could easily defend herself if necessary. But, again, I hate to put these people in a position of having to pass something that says we're not going to obey the people above us. I mean, what if we told them we weren't going to obey the laws that they passed? So that's my problem, and I support everybody here that's pro-gun, but I think there might be a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you. You referenced oaths. Each person here in front of you took an oath at the beginning of their term so you support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Kentucky.
Greetings. My name is John Dethridge, 2910 Shiloh Lane, Goshen, Kentucky, 40026. I want to thank you today for hearing all of us. Some of you know me as the elected constable of District 2 in Goshen. I also swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Kentucky Constitution, and I will do so until the day I die. I'm going to bring you guys some brighter news today. Recently, I was named the chairman of the Friends of NRA fundraising for Oldham, Henry, and Trimble County. And on November 7th, we held our first fundraiser ever, and we grossed $36,500. At least one of you was there. Thank you. Our net was $11,600. And last weekend in Shepherdsville, I attended as a delegate the state proposed grant distribution meeting, where we had over $1 million in grant requests throughout Kentucky, and our group distributed $290,000 to schools, 4-H clubs, ROTC, and other entities throughout the state supporting youth shooting sports. Now, why are youth shooting sports so important? Well, we have to engage the youth in this sport to help keep this type of legislation from ever happening. We have to educate the youth to the proper use, storage, etc. of firearms and educate them so that we don't wind up in a position where all of a sudden they turn around and some government has taken away all their rights. The Second Amendment is the fundamental protection for all of our rights. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. I am David Yunt. I live at 6503 Manassas Drive in Pewee Valley. Been an Oldham County resident about 5 or 6 years. I came for the education for my son. I'm wanting to address a little bit of a different thing than what we've been talking about, and that's the historical aspect of this. I'm a Civil War collector. I'm a proud Kentuckian. I'm descendant of a 6th Kentucky Orphan Brigader, Confederate soldier, and I'm also the descendant of a 15th Kentucky Union soldier. I had the images of some of my family members. I've been made this generation's keeper of these images, and I also collect the artifacts from that war. I have muskets and I have pistols from the Civil War, and some of these pistols come dangerously close to the weight limit that we're talking about. An 1858 Star revolver is almost 4 pounds. That would be taken away. A model 1842 musket with a bayonet lug underneath of the barrel would be a bayonet lug weapon that would be taken away. We will lose the historical aspect of our state and of our country if we continue to let the Second Amendment be infringed upon. We just don't stop at one point. We don't stop with the automatic weapons. We don't stop with the extended magazines. We continue to go and go until we will end up losing our historical aspects. Thank you.
Thank you.
How everybody doing? Henry Hutton, 9201, Bermuda, Crestwood, Kentucky. It's good to be home. I'm going to try to come at it from a little different perspective from most of the folks here.
Could you speak just a little bit louder? I
I'm
don't think
sorry.
everybody can hear you.
Sorry. I don't know if it's been said or brought up yet, but from its conception, gun control, even before the founding of the nation, has always been racist. Always. It's been used to control melanated beings, we'll say, from Native Americans to my ancestors, even used today. So it's just wrong. And coming at it from the gentleman who came up, a couple speakers before me, about the law. You know, there was a time in this nation that there was a law that said that you could kill someone who looked like me if they had something that resembled a weapon. There was a law that said that we had to sit in the back of the bus. Here in LaGrange, for example, you look at the history here, I don't know if it was written law, but it was unwritten law, where someone who looked like me could even come up here. And now here I am today. So we got to be careful with that, because when the gentleman who, I can't even call him gentlemen, the criminals who went to go get Anne Frank, they were following the law. The ones who hit her were breaking it. So, I mean, you got to be careful with that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Pro or con? I mean, all speakers are welcome.
Howard Griffin, 6209 Osage Road, Kentucky. Crestwood, Centerfield. I think I've been carrying a gun longer than anybody here. I've carried a gun for about 85 years. I shot rabbits 85 years ago. I've served in 13 countries. One country I didn't take a gun in, and that was Egypt. One state I wouldn't wear a gun in, that's New York. But everywhere else, I have carried a gun with me just about all the time. I have never pointed a gun at anyone in the United States, and I hope I never have to. I'd really think that anybody that carries a gun should have a license to carry it and be clean, a clean conscience, clean and record and everything. I don't have any more to say, but I thank you all for doing this, and I think it's wonderful that we stick together on it and keep our amendments what we approved. Thank you very much.
Pam Isaac, Crestwood, Kentucky, 40014. Before I get started, I want to ask Mr. Harrison, it appeared he might have been filming me sitting there. If he is, I ask that he delete that. What I'm going to share with you today is a list of people.
I'm getting a message that people can't hear in the back of the room.
Oh,
Speak up. The thing that looks like a
This?
computer mouse is actually a speaker,
This?
microphone.
or this?
No, that.
This?
Right, that is.
Okay. Well, they don't need to hear that again. What I'm going to read today is a list of people who couldn't be here. Charlotte Bacon, age 6. Daniel Barden, age 7. Olivia Engel, age 6. Josephine Gray, age 7. Dylan Hockley, age 6. Carolyn, husband, age 6. Chase Kowalski, age 7. Jesse Lewis, age 6. Ann Green, age 6. Grace McDonald, age 7. Emily Parker, age 6. Jack Pinto, age 6. Noah Posner, age 6. Caroline Pravidia, age 6. Jessica Ricos, age 6. Avil Richmond, age 6. Benjamin Wheeler, age 6. And Allison Wyatt. Some of you may know that that's the kids at Sandy Hook Elementary School. They didn't have a chance to be here today, and their parents, I mean, could you imagine your child didn't come home from school because some guy that had a mental health issue had a semi-automatic weapon and killed these kids, and there were adults killed too, but I didn't write their names down. I know that the guns don't kill guns, people do. But when we have so many mental health issues out there, just make sure all of this goes back to the table to keep addressing that issue. I mean, he shot and killed his mother before he went to the school. I don't know. I mean, you don't use semi-automatic weapons to shoot a deer. You don't use semi-automatic weapons to target shoot. So I don't know what you use them for. And the ones who use them wrong are, of course, the criminals or people that are mentally ill that want to hurt other people. So I didn't get a chance to read up on this as much as I'd like to yesterday. I was looking at some of the bills that were proposed. 187, they want to repeal that allows people, they want to repeal that they must have a permit to carry the gun. So, but anyway, that's just a little bit of what I thought of when I was reading the articles in Oldham era that, you know, it's got to stop. You know, it can't be separate. It has to all be together. That all these guns and what happens, I mean, who has a relative that was killed like that? Anybody? There's 1, 2. So, you know, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to address the issue? Come forward. Please state your name and address. And as I say, try to speak louder than you're used to.
Yes, sir.
You may seem like you're overdoing it, but the people in the back will be able to hear you.
Thank you very much. My name's Arthur Blake. I live at 8321 Hidden Valley Road in Westport, 40077. I was not planning whatsoever to speak today. I was going to sit in the crowd, show my support, and take it all in. I see so many things that strike me. I just want to rattle off what hits me immediately. Yes, Adolf Hitler, everything he did was legal. He broke no laws. Bad laws are no laws. You can make a bad law, and it is the law, but it's morally wrong. We got here to this country because of guns. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for guns. We wouldn't be safe here. Our enemies wouldn't fear us, but we have a lot of guns. Semi-automatic rifles are used to shoot a deer. They are used to target practice. All these young children, my heart goes out to the whole situation. They were all killed in a gun-free zone. A gun-free zone is where I'm going to guess, I'm picking a number, but I'm close, about 97% of mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. A gun-free zone is a duck shoot. And my heart goes out to the people who are innocent and disarmed like sheep in a gun-free zone and get mowed down. I think that's twisted. But I don't want to be too negative here. There's so much misinformation and downright deception in, a bayonet lug is not going to kill you, probably. I would bet money on it. But that's a gun they want to take. Why do they want to take them? Most people get killed with knives, swords, baseball bats, hammers, fists. A handful in America, millions of people get killed by a rifle. But a rifle's what they're coming after. I could go on, and I'm not. What I would say is I wish there was more people who were curious about reading FBI statistics, looking at the truth, and not letting their heart make logical decisions for them, and ask questions, get interested, find out the facts, and don't be deceived by the mass media and the gun control people and the multi-billionaires and the big places, population places like New York, LA, Chicago. Any of these places have the worst I can't think of the word, bad gun laws, draconian, something like that. And yet they have the highest murder rates. So it's almost like if you want more people killed, then create more gun laws. And that's kind of the way it balances out. And I appreciate y'all giving me a little bit of time. I'm only talking because of my feelings here of witnessing what I think is not justified logical thinking. So I'm done here. Thank you for your time.
Right, thank you.
My name is Alex White. I live at 8250 Spear Lane in Crestwood. I too was not planning on speaking tonight, but I want to make sure we bring it back to the topic at hand, which is sanctuary city status. And first of all, thank you for everybody who's come to support this. Truly is a grassroots movement, as Andy said. And sitting thinking about my drive to work this morning, and I was on a country road in Oldham County, and the sunrise was coming, and I said, God, thank you for allowing me to live at the time that we do in this country and in this state. And with a 2A sanctuary, we're not asking to change anything. We're simply asking that this court send a message that we respect the status quo, that we respect the current law as it is, that we respect the Constitution, and then obviously that we respect the Second Amendment. The importance of the Second Amendment are been discussed in full today, but I want to talk about why this is important now. We know that there are radical changes that have been presented in Frankfort, and we know that in other states, particularly Virginia right now, there's been radical laws that were presented and passed, and those people are about to see a lot of their freedoms evaporate this year. In Kentucky already, 17 counties have said, we want to send a message to Frankfort that we don't want those changes. We want the status quo. We're glad that we live at the time that we do. And I stand with Thomas Massey in supporting the Second Amendment sanctuary county movement and the grassroots that are behind that. And whether the resolution that this court accepts is one that's been submitted today, or whether it's one that you guys modify and write on your own within the next very few days or weeks, I just hope that Oldham County comes together and sends a message to Frankfort that we respect the status quo. We don't want these radical gun laws that have been introduced in Frankfort passed. Send the message, join the other counties that have become 2A sanctuaries, and let's get on board with that and support the Second Amendment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Pendleton. I live at 8102 Hidden Valley in Westport. It's been, I've watched everyone come up and speak, and kind of felt that we should have a little female representation, that we need you to stand behind us. The shooting in Texas was not an assault rifle. It was not a large caliber magazine. It was a shotgun, and it was stopped by a bystander who knew what he was doing, who practiced with his firearms, and taught others to respect the firearms, and he saved multiple lives in 6 seconds. That is something that could easily happen in this county. We have, our sheriff's department's team helps our churches, you all may not be aware of it, with threat level assessments and how they can respond. My little church in Westport has 25 members, but they still lock their doors once the service starts. And there's someone standing at the back door who's gonna open that door and will take the first shot, if need be, to keep the rest of those patrons safe. That is what our world is coming to. And we need to make sure that you show Frankfort that you support your citizens in this county, that we will throw the first punch, that we will be a 2A sanctuary city, that we're going to stand behind our Constitution that our ancestors fought and died for years ago, that we still need to stand and fight for today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Lucas. I live at 1015 Shoreline Drive. It's right down the road here in Woodland Lakes subdivision. Tell you a little bit about myself. I spent 7 years in the U.S. Army. And I spent 2.5 years as a private military contractor in Kabul, Afghanistan. Did a 15-month tour to Iraq while I was in the military. So I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've seen a lot of violence. It always shocks me how our leadership and the people that we elect always attempts to legislate violence. You cannot, or legislate evil. You cannot legislate evil out of a human being. I've seen Taliban throw their youngest child in front of our convoys just to get money for them so that they can finance whatever else they want to finance. That's a very real evil. That evil exists here in the United States. I think it's very apparent from the problem of all these shootings we've been having. And unfortunately, some of our representatives here in the state of Kentucky are still drafting legislation to this day to restrict my ability and all these people's ability to defend themselves. And that's just kind of ludicrous, right? These 30-round magazines saying that's too much. Nobody needs this many rounds to defend themselves. I can attest firsthand that I've needed way more than that to defend myself. That was obviously in a war zone. We don't live in a war zone, thankfully, but the possibility does exist. The Aurora shooter in Colorado in the movie theater had a plethora of firearms and ammunition. God knows what would have happened if the police didn't show up as fast as they did. The other thing, coming to the police, the law enforcement, they're already taxed. Law enforcement does not have a primary responsibility of keeping all of us safe. They are merely an augmentee to our safety. It means individual responsibility to keep yourself safe. And the individual responsibility to keep yourself safe is helped by the fact that we have the Second Amendment. It's helped by technology. It's helped by weapons that have been progressed to the point to where we can have semi-automatic AR-15s that are militaristic, right? That is an equalizer. That is not something that should be taken away from all of us. Other than that, I appreciate your all's time. I do hope that you sign this resolution. I understand that it has no legal binding because the only legal body that can process legislation regarding the firearms Second Amendment is Kentucky Congress. But I hope you sign this and push it up so that Frankfurt's on notice so that they don't try to pass this other stuff come their legislation session. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Lund. I live at 1815 Granville Drive in LaGrange, Kentucky, 40031. Appreciate your all's time this afternoon. I'll tell you a brief story, and I'll make it very brief. When I was young, I learned on a Model 41 Smith & Wesson 22 long rifle. That's what I learned on. And when I turned 20 years old, I used a Beretta 9000S 9mm with 12 rounds and 12 more in my pocket to defend my life. When 3 people decided they wanted to break into my house. And I called the cops when the door was being beaten on. And it took them more than 5 minutes to respond in the city of Lexington. I shouldn't have to choose what I use to defend myself. And the question that I got asked by some friends was, if you didn't have that gun, what would you have used? And the answer was the 24-inch pry bar in the toolbox that was in my bedroom. I have a 4-year-old daughter, about ready to be 5 years old. I shouldn't have to choose what I defend her life with my life with my family's life with. So yes, I think that this county, these residents, need their voice heard through you that we elect in Frankfort, that we won't put up with it. The laws don't stop people. If they want to commit harm, they'll find a way. And I shouldn't have to choose how I defend myself when they find that way. So I appreciate your all's time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak here today?
Hello, my name is Kenny Young. I reside at 220 Washington Circle. First and foremost, I'm going to ask for an extension if I need it. If first thing I want to say is you began this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And there was a part in there that said for liberty and justice for all. That's what we're here asking for. Our liberties and our justice. You all are all elected officials. I'm not that much of a public speaker. And those that know me are probably very nervous and sitting on their seats on what I might say. If that resolution today passes up in Frankfort, now that I gave you my address, lose it, because I will now be a crook. I worked in Justice Department, corrections. And to be completely honest with you, I've been retired for 7 years. 60 years old. Never thought I would have to defend myself other than what God gave me here. But it's beginning a weird world out there. You know it. Everybody knows it. So I'm going to put each one of you on your spot, and I'm going to implore and beg that you pass this resolution so I can be a law-abiding, free American citizen. We've talked about Kentucky. We've talked about other states. I'm talking about that flag right there. That's my right, and I don't want to be denied that right. I don't want to be denied any rights of my Constitution. I think it's a sad day that we've got to even have this meeting, because one thing is going to lead to the other. I sympathize with the families of shooting victims. But what was it, a week and a half ago? A madman took some lives with a knife and a machete. You're always going to have evil, and that gets to the root of the whole problem. Politicians from up in Washington to down to the little communities have taken God Almighty out of everything and resorted to what's more important. We need to put God back into everything. Don't infringe on my rights as a law-abiding citizen. You're always going to have evil. And the only way to conquer evil is through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for your time.
Or anyone else who's thinking about coming forward?
Afternoon. I'm going to use my phone for my notes. My name is J.D. Myers. I live at 4103 Grimes Cove, Buckner, and I'm just a common man, just like any other here. I've lived in this county for 39 years, and I've raised 5 kids. For nearly a century, the Second Amendment has been under attack, starting with the National Firearms Act of 1934 until the assault weapons ban of 1994. Various states like the People's Republic of California have neutered the AR-15 by requiring its magazines to be fixed inside the weapon so that it can't be removed and limiting it to 10 rounds. This puts the law-abiding citizen at a disadvantage to criminals. Criminals, by definition, do not follow the laws. There is no law a politician can pass that a criminal will follow. And it would seem that some gun-grabbing politicians are too thick-headed to grasp this concept. But I'll give them a little bit more credit. They know exactly what they're doing, and thanks to Beto O'Rourke and his, I'll refrain from 4-letter words, but heck yes, we're going to take your AR-15. So does every American. The end game is to remove all firearms. And it's only going to get worse for law-abiding gun owners. Universal background checks are being proposed. And throughout history, every time this is, well, let's make no mistake about it, this is just a registry. And throughout history, every time a registry has been instituted, confiscation has followed. Every time. Government is not our friend, it is a necessary evil. And the only thing that evil fears is a free man with a gun and the courage to stand up to it. Ask Jack Wilson of White Settlement, Texas about how to stop evil. There are proposals now to ban so-called assault weapons in magazine capacities. Some might say that there's no reason to worry. We've got Republican majorities in the House and the Senate in Kentucky. That's if they can uphold the Constitution. And I hope they do, but hope is not a plan. The plan starts today. The plan starts with us. Make Oldham County a Second Amendment sanctuary. We also have to fight red flag laws that deny people due process, laws that unconstitutionally take my property, laws that shift the burden of proof and the law to the law-abiding citizen, such as myself. Basically, I'm guilty until proven innocent. And gun owners better wake up. We better get active in national and state politics. but it starts here first. Grassroots, small town USA, Oldham County, Kentucky. We better start paying attention before the Michael Bloombergs of the world start buying more elections to give gun grabbers the majority in the Kentucky House and Senate, like they did in Virginia. What gives them the authority to take my personal property? And how ironic is it that that's the same personal property that I use to defend myself and my family from those people? Take a look at the Hong Kong protesters. Doesn't look like it's working out very good for them. How many lay dead in the streets shot by the government because they were exercising what we call our First Amendment right? As someone already said today, if the second falls, they will all fall. And it's nearly impossible to get them back after they're gone. And the ruling class needs to be reminded that they are the servants. They are public servants of the people, and we are the people. I know my time is about up, and I'll make this quick. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. One word stands out in that sentence to me, and that's necessary. Pop quiz, how many times does necessary show up in the Bill of Rights? One time. Does necessarily really mean an explanation? Probably not, so I'll make it quick. It means required, essential. Like air is required to breathe, like food and water are essential to life. A militia is necessary for security. The rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The unalienable right, the self-evident right endowed by the Creator, not the government, to keep and bear arms. This is the same arms that the military had. Today that means 30-round magazines, that means short-barrel rifles with suppressors, belt-fed automatic weapons. If the Constitution were written today, those are the rights that we the people would have. Aren't we the same people? Just taxed a lot more. Aren't we the same people, just desensitized to the absolute stupidity of socialism and anti-American rhetoric? Aren't we the same people, just lacking the courage that our forefathers had? But not anymore. Our time has finally come. The people have reached a boiling point. The awakening has finally appeared. And now it is my generation's time to stand up and say, not one more inch.
Anyone else who would like to come forward?
Mary Ann Smith, 512 Kentucky Avenue, LaGrange. And I know that this is breaking your train of thought, and I'm sorry about that, but I thought I was here for the second one. I attended city council meeting last night, like I do every first Monday for the city of LaGrange. And they were talking, Judge Vogel made his presentation on the two options for the new courthouse. And I had been, that was either the third or the fourth time I had heard that. I learned something every time I hear the presentation. And I have switched completely from the way I was. I wanted to preserve. But I was looking around the room last night with the people that were against both options and wanted a third option, which is non-existent. And I realized, we didn't have the crowd last night that you have today, but I realized I was the oldest person in this room. And most of the people that were speaking are newcomers, as I call them. I have lived here all my life. The longest I have ever been away from this town is 5.5 weeks, ever. And when I look at the technology, in 2000, I worked at UPS, and we thought the planes might fall out of the sky New Year's Eve night because we didn't know what was going to happen when 2000. Now that we're in a new decade, you can think about what technology has happened since 2010 to today. I think saving that facade is a mistake. It's cost prohibitive. You can take it and move it to the History Center. It would be nice to do that. In my entire life, I have only been on that stairwell one time, and I got stuck upstairs and couldn't get down any other way. And I grew up in this yellow brick house down here across the road, so I was here a lot. But I think when I got a haircut this morning, the guy was asking me about what happened at City Council last night, and I asked him what he thought about the two, and he liked the two-story best, and so we talked about it. And he said, I have been in the front door of the courthouse. I go in once every 4 years to get a driver's license. I've never been out the back door. I've never been anywhere else in the courthouse, and that made me wonder how many people that spoke last night have never had any dealings with the courthouse. And for taxpayers to foot the bill to save that, I think is cost prohibitive. Now, I can't imagine that your court system in Frankfurt would not allow you to take that stairwell out of there and put that somewhere else. And I'm a history person, but the point is, people, when they come to the window to be served, they want it quickly, they want it done correctly, they don't want to have to wait around. And I can't imagine, I live in a 70-year-old house that is not historic, obviously, but I have problems at my house like getting the internet to work from one end to the other of the house. And I can't imagine what it's like in that old building across the street. So I think we'd better just bulldoze it down and maybe move it closer to the railroad track and take their money and use it productively. And I realize that people, this is an artist's drawing rendition of the courthouse. I remember this courthouse, but nobody that spoke last night knows this courthouse. The little house next door was where the jailer lived with his wife. She prepared the food for the inmates. The jail was right there close, and people don't, they're talking about what they don't know about. I even found the man that did this addition that was on over there now. He didn't know until I told him that First Street used to be a 2-lane road and had parking on both sides of it with huge maple trees. And I thought, if you are going to draw plans to renovate this space, why didn't you know that? Why did I have to tell you that? Because that's why the front door isn't in the middle of the lot anymore, because they took the lanes away. He said, how do you know that? I said, because I took my driver's test over there. I mean, it's just very simple. And I vote for number 2, and I sent you an email this morning, and I'm going to try. When does it have to be in? Because I'm going to make a
Week from today.
I'm going to make a phone call tonight.
Thank you.
And I am in support of the Second Amendment.
I think Ms. Smith there was actually waiting to be the last speaker, wanted to let others speak, but I did see someone else stand up. Would you like to come forward now?
Thanks for having us today. My name's Jason Hicks. I'm at 3226 Old Sligo Road in LaGrange. Relatively new to Oldham County and Kentucky itself. Been here a couple of years. I was 20 when I was in the McDonald's in Tennessee. They got held up in armed robbery. Wasn't old enough for concealed carry. 21, I got my first concealed carry. Since then, I've twice, never had to pull the weapon, but I've had to let it be known that I was carrying to prevent either assault on myself or property stolen. These politicians that want to pass these highly restrictive anti-Second Amendment laws, that's fine, but I challenge you and them to abide by the same ones. If you're a security force, your courthouse Your armed guard, every one of them gets held to the exact same law that you expect me to abide by. If I can't protect myself and my family, they should be held to the exact same standard. I'll yield my time. Thanks.
Hello.
Oh,
My name is Roberta Douglas, 3701 Blossom Drive, LaGrange 40031. I have just a quick little story. I was born in California, and up until about almost 30 years ago, I lived in California. My son, when he was 16 years old, was on his way home from work, and he was running a little bit late, so he wanted to call me to let me know that he was running late. Back then, they didn't have cell phones. It was a payphone. He stopped at a payphone, and two boys walked up to him with a gun, a loaded gun, and robbed him. Now, that's what I got to face, you know, on my child almost being shot by bad guys. It was shortly after that I went down and bought myself a handgun and went and took some training classes on how to use that gun. Carried the gun in the pocket of my car with me because I worked nights and I was scared to death after that to drive myself. If the new laws do pass that they want to pass, that handgun that I still possess would become illegal because it has a seven round magazine. And that gun there, I have had that gun for almost 30 years and have yet to shoot anybody. Okay? Now the bad guys almost shot my son, and I'm sure their gun wasn't registered. And that's the big point of it. We need to be able to protect ourselves. The bad guys don't care. They're going to get their guns from anywhere. And they're not legal guns. They're not going to go and do all the background checks and all of that. And if we don't stand up for our rights, we are not going to be able to defend ourselves against those people that don't abide by the laws. Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, is there anyone else? All right, at this point, I'll close public comment, and I'll go to our magistrates for any comments that any magistrate would like to make. All right.
Wait a minute, Judge.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm the NRA.
Since this issue has arisen, I think everyone here on the fiscal court is, let's say, certainly aware of the issue and probably not able to articulate the different bills that may have been presented by someone in Frankfurt. The presentation of a bill is not doesn't take more than a person or two, I guess, to sponsor it and get it in the hopper and to see if it goes anywhere. Everyone sitting here is, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but I'll say that it's my opinion that everyone sitting here is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. Since this issue has come up, we've had 4 differently worded resolutions come to us. All right. A committee, which resolution would we pick? All right. Our procedure in this matter is to take this under advisement, take these 4 differently worded resolutions. I'm going to send them to the Public Safety Committee, ask them to formulate a resolution and bring it back in 2 weeks to fiscal court here that the Public Safety Committee thinks can be supported by the fiscal court. There are different aspects of each one of these resolutions. I'm not hesitant to express my opinion that I agree with what Mr. Watring said. We don't have the right as a county to supersede state law. I'm very opposed to sanctuary cities. And I think if I ask everyone here, do you believe that certain cities in the country should defy immigration rules? Probably the most of you would say no, that you don't think that should happen. You think it's wrong. But I'm in favor of supporting a statement here that says that we support the Second Amendment. Do want any interference with the Second Amendment, leave it alone. It's our right to have this protection for ourselves and our family, and we don't need any type of infringement upon it. I'm very uncomfortable, though, with wording that says that we will instruct our law enforcement agency not to enforce any what is perceived as a conflict of the, or something in conflict with the Bill of Rights. We live in a society that's based on, there are three legs to this stool. One of them is legislative, another is administrative, the third is judicial. Now, I agree with what someone said earlier, that in Germany, in World War II, there were laws that were obeyed, but they were terrible laws that inflicted a tremendous amount of grief and misery on the world and on the Jewish population and others that were in the way of the Nazi army. I'd like to think that I don't necessarily agree that we're going to go down that path if we say in Oldham County that we support the Second Amendment, do not want any infringement on the Second Amendment. I'm personally willing to say that and sign that, but I have a lot of problems saying that we're not going to obey any laws that are passed. I think it's up to the court system. That's our system here, to go to the courts. If you don't like something that's passed, you take it to court and it's adjudicated. The other path we have here as citizens is to elect people to the legislature that are going to defend our point of view and our rights. And we live in a complex society. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of ideas, and we have to fight to make our fight, being a general word, I don't mean a specific fight, to fight at the ballot to get our point of view out. Today, I'm very upset. I opened the paper and I see that John Yarmouth, the representative in Congress from the neighboring county, says that President Trump could be a war criminal because he's told Iran there will be retaliation if they attack any of our things. I'm very upset, and I hope that I never have the opportunity to meet Representative Yarmouth. I haven't in 10 years' time, but if I do, I'm sure to tell him to his face how wrong I think he is about things. And I'm one voter, not even in his district. But I think we have to, I am in favor of raising this issue, standing behind it. I'm not personally in favor of saying that I can't, as county judge, direct our law enforcement in this county not to obey a law passed by the legislature. I don't think there's any chance, frankly, that the legislature will do something. I agree that every time somebody throws a negative article out there, that it softens people up. Circumstances happen that tear our hearts. We don't want any children shot. We don't want anything like that to happen, but it takes treatment and psychology. Years ago, we turned out all these people that had mental issues onto the street. You know, we have had some in LaGrange that seem to be threatening when you see them, but they're not in institutions anymore. They're not getting the treatment that they once did. Many of us disagreed with that, but it happened. And we need to get back and get treatment for people who have a mental illness. And I'm in perfect agreement with having protection. And I won't ask who here on the fiscal court may have a weapon in his pocket today. I wouldn't be surprised if several people do. This is a strong Second Amendment group here. We're also a group faithful to the oath we took as elected officials to support and defend the Constitution. But I'm afraid if we start labeling what that what is an infringement, what is not. We're going down a path here where how many people agree we go this way or that way. That's why we have a legislature and why we have a judiciary. And our job as elected officials is to implement the law as passed. And we, believe me, we oppose things. We're going to be in Frankfurt lobbying during this session, and we will lobby for the Second Amendment, and we will lobby for other things we think are important in our county that have nothing to do with firearms. But we're there, we're speaking up and trying to do things. So at this point,
Judge,
yes, sir.
I had a couple of comments.
Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. There seems to be some confusion, at least among a few of you. If this thing's going to move forward, you need to come with a clear, articulated definition of automatic versus semi-automatic. They're not the same. They're used for different purposes. So that needs to get clarified. One gentleman said this county, its residents, need to hear you hear their voices. I agree 100%. I think it's great that all of you came. I wasn't taking a picture of Ms. Isaacs. I was taking a picture of the entire group here to show that we had that many people interested in a particular issue. And I encourage you to get interested in some other issues as well. Several of you said that laws cannot stop evil. I agree with you. But guess what else they cannot stop? Stupid. Laws cannot stop stupid. I'm the magistrate in the 3rd District. Basically, just say Westport, and you got it covered. I'll probably have more backyard shooters in my district than the rest of these people, magistrates, do combined. They walk out the back door with an automatic rifle and start shooting in the backyard totally indiscriminately, not a backstop, into the woods behind them without realizing there are children around, there are animals around, there are horses, there are cows. I want you to help me come up with a way that we can possibly mandate that any shooting like that must be into an approved backstop. It could be dirt, it could be a combination of dirt and railroad ties, but let's don't lose sight of the safety factor that's involved in this with these rifles that we've got, because they will travel great distances. I think I'm probably the only combat veteran sitting up here. I've shot at people, I've had people shot at me, I've had people standing beside me get killed. So I'm very sensitive about weapons and what they can do. But safety is paramount. If you want to know how I feel about the weapons, there's not a closet in my house that does not have at least one weapon in it. I don't collect weapons anymore, I collect ammunition. And the only way somebody's going to get my guns is if I run out of ammunition. But I'm not going to ignore the safety factor. It is so important. I don't want this county to gain a reputation of being one of the counties that has a child or an adult shot out of stupidity. So if you're not one of the stupid ones, help educate the ones who are. We need your support in that area as well. Thank you.
Judge?
Yes, sir. Magistrate Dye.
I want to thank all of y'all that came today. Some faces I recognized, some I didn't. I took notes of, my kind of shorthand, so I have an idea what, but, it's strange you got the center aisle here because basically you all are one group. You all should be pushed together. But what I found today was, and I've seen, people have emailed me stuff, and it's from one end of the alphabet to the other, what people are looking for here. Y'all come here with a common cause, and I believe Alex said it's grassroots, and some other people use that term. Y'all need to not stop here today. You've told your local elected officials, your next stop tonight is to send an email to your state representative. He's got to hear from you, your relatives, your friends, because everybody that all put sum total, all the people that you know that will support this, you couldn't fit in this room. We'd have to go down to the fairgrounds, okay? You all cannot stop here. Don't depend on these eight magistrates and the judge to get the job done for you. There ain't enough of us. There's more of you. So, and the thing is, what I heard today was kind of, one central theme, but a lot of side issues that maybe don't work itself. I'm sure you all get out in that hallway and would disagree amongst one another about certain parts of what you said. But again, I just want to say thank you for coming. This is what Government's all about us up here, you out there, and someday some of you up here, and I won't be here, okay? But it's what it's all about, and you can't stop today. So if something's not sounding right later on, don't blame the 9 people up here, because we're on your side. You are the one that put us up here, and we appreciate that, and we'll do you all the best. I will do you the best job I can. I know they will, and I'm one of the committees on public safety, myself and the Magistrate Hounds and Magistrate Tice. So, we'll get it done. Thank you.
Magistrate Hounds.
I've spoken to quite a few people in this room, and I think I spoke with Alex yesterday, and I said, well, I hope you all do fill the room, because I've been up here now for a little over 3 years, and the number of times that I've had people call me and say, there's going to be a bunch of people to show up to talk about an issue, and it's 5 or 10 people. This is nice. This means a lot to have this many people show up and be very passionate about a topic. That's great. I was going to say similarly what Magistrate Dye said. Don't stop here. Pick up the phone. Look up the emails of your representatives. You don't have to just call your representatives. You can call others too. I mean, your representative is likely going to listen to you more because you voted for him or her. But make those phone calls. Send those emails out. I am the chair of the Public Safety Committee. We have talked about this amongst a few of the magistrates about putting a resolution together. We will have a meeting in the next probably week to 10 days to try to get something hammered out, and hopefully we can come to a consensus. I agree with the judge in the fact that we have to be very careful about what we do. We are Oldham County. We have a great place to live. I've lived here for my whole life. I own firearms. I have a farm that I'm very fortunate I can go shoot when I want. I don't have to go buried to your place. But I have frequented that. But my point is that we have to be very careful about what we do. I agree with Magistrate Harrison about the comment about people shooting in the backyards. And we don't want people to get hurt. I think we all agree. The court probably. I'll speak for myself, but I think everybody. We want safe, responsible gun ownership. That's what we want. And how we get there, that's a long road, and I'm not sure how we do get there. But I appreciate everybody's time and effort that came out and spoke today. Those of you that didn't speak, thank you for showing support for those that did speak. And I too took notes on the back of a piece of paper, and we'll refer back to them for future. Thank you very much.
I think most of you know that we do have an officer in each one of the Oldham County schools now. We've taken that seriously, and they're working closely with the schools to provide as much protection. Our officers are instructed to be very visible, to have their cars parked near the front door. We live in, we like to think Mayberry here, but the world is, you see on TV things you don't want to have happen locally, and of course when things do, everybody says, how did it happen here, wherever they were. So we're trying to do the best we can to protect everybody in the county. So what we're going to do is refer these, if you have, I don't know if there's other resolutions floating around or not. I've seen Boone County, Campbell County, others are out there in other counties I've seen where requests have been made to the fiscal court. We don't know exactly what those resolutions look like, but we've had 4 of them presented to us. I've referred them to the Public Safety Committee to basically synthesize them or take a look at them, see if there's something that's already out there that we think that fits us perfectly. I don't think there's going to be any difficulty expressing our desire to leave the Second Amendment alone, stay away from it, no changes. Okay, I mean, in the issues that we have that involve firearms have to be solved in some other way than taking firearms away from people. I mean, that's just not, going to happen, or, you know, at least we don't want it to happen, but enough people have to vote for the right type of state representative, state senator, to get in there and do what we want done, and don't, as I mentioned earlier, I probably shouldn't have drug Representative Yarmouth into this, but there's nothing to say because we live in Oldham County that you can't support a good candidate in another county that you think. Be aware of what's going on. Don't just take things for granted. There are people out there that have agendas. If their agenda doesn't match up with yours, then step forward, okay? And that's what we're doing on a national level to some extent, and we can do it on a state level. It can be a local level as well. So,
Judge,
yes, sir.
two quick comments. I believe your friend, Mr. Yarmouth, is also opposed to armed officers in the schools. So you might add that to your list of things to be sure to thank him for.
Right. He's I don't know. I disagree with his point of view. And,
other thing,
I also think that it represents Kentucky. It may represent a section of Jefferson County, but certainly not Kentucky.
the other item I've got, Virginia Beach, I think, is one of the latest areas and cities to pass a sanctuary-related type resolution, but they renamed theirs. They called theirs a Second Amendment constitutional, not sanctuary, constitutional city, which I prefer more than just focusing on the Second Amendment. If we want to show support for a part of the Constitution, I prefer showing support for the entire Constitution, all of it.
We're definitely a Bill of Rights county. I don't know, I don't want to get off subject here too far, but I don't know if you're monitoring what's going on in Canada or what is happening in, let's say, Great Britain. If you make a remark about a certain religion, you can be put in jail. Things are happening in those countries that are pretty daggone scary, and we certainly don't want that happening here. So the entire Bill of Rights is valuable. Today we're focused in on what we think is an attack on the Second Amendment, but I agree with others that it can spread. So we got to protect all our rights. Well, thank you all for coming today. Appreciate it, and we'll be back. I've asked the Public Safety Committee to come back in 2 weeks with a resolution that we can approve for Oldham County.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for listening.
Judge. Take a break. Take a break in about 5 minutes.
Let's ask the fiscal court for a 10-minute break. We'll be back at, let's say, 3:40.
Need a motion?
I mean 3:50.